I'm Dorothy Godin, broker with Remax Crown Realty here in Sudbury, and welcome to Thursday Thoughts. Let's talk about home inspections. So, for many years, it was quite normal to have a home inspection clause in our offers. And lately, with the competitive market that we have, first-time home buyers are often I kind of say, they're between a rock and a hard place because in the under 600 first-time home buyers, we're seeing multiple offers, and usually the offer that is successful and the seller picks is an offer that has no conditions. And so, because of that, we're seeing sellers purchasing home inspections, and so sellers are actually hiring home inspectors and providing a home inspection report and giving it to buyers who want to see it. On the positive side, this does save the buyer money in that they're not dishing out, $300 to $600 for a home inspection. It saves them time where they don't have to book time off work to go with a home inspector and walk through the house for 2 hours. And it's giving them some insight into the house. I would caution you, this is the seller report and not a buyer report. So when you have a seller report, you have no idea of what biases are there because the inspector was hired by the seller, and the seller, you know, I think most sellers want to just put the truth out there, but you just never know, right? And you don't know how complete that report is. You don't know the scope of that report, and you don't know if it was a complete report or a half report. You just don't know. Also, there's no buyer protection, right? You have not walked through the house with that home inspector, so they're not really pointing out, specifically what they see. You just have a written report. So I would caution buyers that I think it's great that there's a pre-inspection. I would review it carefully, but I also would look at that as a first step and a first step in that it gives you some insight into the property. And I would still say, you know what? Don't be afraid to hire your own inspector, even if it's not to get a full report, but to do a walkthrough with you. So take that report that the seller has given you. It's a first step, it's a first look at the house, and then hire your own inspector to come and do a walkthrough with you before you put an offer in. And that way you can still feel comfortable taking out that insurance clause. The problem is when you're writing 10 and 15 offers to hire an inspector to do a walkthrough with you, could be a couple of $100s, it can get quite expensive. But by the same token, not doing a home inspection and you have no clue about construction and you're just not savvy about structural matters about a house, those repairs can be very, very costly. I got a call last week from someone whose relative bought a house during the pandemic and was told that you absolutely cannot, get this house and put in an inspection clause. And that's probably true, but you have to talk about the consequences of not doing that. You choose not to put a home inspection clause in there and then something happens. You cannot go back to the seller and say, oh, the windows leak. Well, yeah, it's pretty evident that the windows leak. Like, it's very, very tricky. So I suggest, as a buyer, especially first-time home buyers who have no experience, you need to do some kind of inspection and not just take the pre-inspection report. There is also now an inspector in Sudbury who is doing inspections and offering them for sale to buyers. And again, I would just, caution everyone that when you hire a home inspector, whether you do the full report or just a walkthrough, you want to physically be with that home inspector. I mean, I know that sometimes, you can't because of work schedules or you're out of town, then fine, send a parent, send someone who you trust. Other than your realtor. Your realtor is going to be there, but the realtor is not part of the inspection. That's you and your inspector. So even if you purchase this, pre-inspection, which is being offered now, I would still want to hire that inspector to walk through with me because I want to see physically what those red flags are. And I also want the inspector to address things that I consider red flags. it's not enough just to get a report. It's just not enough. And so I know for first time home buyers, there's, pros and cons about, putting in that inspection clause, but you're not buying shoes that you can return. So you have to protect yourself. And if that means you're going to spend a couple of $1,000s doing pre-inspections of your own choice of an inspector before you put an offer in, I think that's money well spent, as opposed to getting into the house and finding out that the shingles have to be replaced today, or that there's the furnace is about to die, and now you're spending $10,000. So I think it's very important for first time home buyers to somehow get a home inspection in there. You have to make sure that the fundamental structures are in good shape. I hope you find this helpful. As always, you can reach me at Dorothy Godin at remax.net or 705-561-2360. Take care.